Yeah.
Great. I love it. So what are we doing first? So decision-making stuff. Does anybody, I wasn't here last week. Who wants to fill me in on what you guys did first in the session last week about decision-making, especially the decision-making charts that we handed out, and then what you guys did for homework? Anybody?
I guess, yeah. Last week we talked about looking at like competitors and seeing like if being in a state of mind of like what questions would we ask our competitors, and it was good because it made us think of questions that we should have been asking ourselves, and just brought a lot of relevant things to mind. And the challenge homework was to do 2 sheets. One was I think the 5 questions, and then I forgot the second worksheet.
That's okay. So there were 2 market research worksheets. There was the one for your customers and the one for your competitors, right?
Yep.
Who got around to doing those? Who went out and asked people or called people and asked people? You did some?
Yeah.
You talked to some people? You guys talked to some people?
We didn't do it last week, but we have.
But you have done it before? Okay.
She works with the competitor. No, so.
Excellent. We love it. All right. So I guess okay, and what about the decision-making part of everything? Did people get the decision-making chart about the different decisions you might need to make and the who should make each? Did you guys
Oh
work on
yeah,
that?
we could. That's one of the things we couldn't do.
Okay. Okay. You guys worked on it, right?
Yeah.
And Future Focus, you worked on it? Who else worked on the decision-making sheet? Yeah.
Very, very briefly.
Okay, why don't you guys, we have a few minutes just to go over what you guys worked on. So I'd like to hear from the people who did work on it. Like, can you go through the kind of questions that you talked about? Or did you share them last week, or you just did this for homework, right? Okay, yeah, I would love to hear what you guys came up with.
You guys are decisions, but just in terms of like who's a worker, who's a member, and who's a board of directors, we thought that all the youth in our program should be members, but the workers would be the people who are currently producing. And the board of directors, we figured out we wanted it to be comprised of 3 adult staff and 3 youth staff, like the different roles in the organization of who makes sense to fill each one. So the workers and the board of directors, the 3 youth for the board of directors would be from the workers, so there's some overlap. So we had a lot of things where they were both to the side, so it would be the same people.
Okay.
So I don't know if you guys want to this.
Yeah, sure. I can read it. Do you want us to read them all?
Just give us a few and then we'll see how it goes.
So, one we talked about was photo changes on the legal and marketing materials. And we decided that the workers and the board of directors would decide and the members would have some input. But for something like major legal changes, the workers would put input, the members would notify, and then the board of directors would decide because that has to do with like public stuff. And then major branding decisions, it was the same. The workers have input. Well, it wasn't the same. The workers have input, the members also have input, and the board of directors would decide if we had a recipe change. We put that the workers and the board of directors would decide, and then the members would be notified. And then adding new products, the workers and the board of directors would decide. And the members.
Okay,
yeah. It's hard to read. We should have. Yeah. And then, so everybody decide if we added a new product. If there was a price change, it would be the workers and the board of directors decide, and then the members had input. Let me skip over, I guess. So then input, if we have like something from distributors or wholesale clients, the workers decided, and then the board of directors had input, and then the members were notified.
Yeah, so we tried to make like day-to-day decisions, like maybe changing who our wholesale distributor would be, or like an office protocol would be up to the workers because they would be impacted the most. And then like major lasting decisions that would affect the product over time, the board of directors would be included.
And the board of directors, you said, were 3 adults and 3 of the youth workers?
Yeah,
So 6 people altogether? Okay. Did you guys, were there any places where you disagreed? Did you have any arguments over any of this? I'm hoping you did.
Me and
And how
Grace
did you
kind of had
handle it?
like, we were like kind of, we kind of arguing, me and Grace don't argue, but, we were talking about bylaws, where is that? Oh, amending or adding bylaws.
Okay, yeah.
And, Grace, what I wanted first to have the board of directors just have input, because in retrospect, like, right now, the board of directors, like, I don't feel like they're that closely connected to the, actual hot sauce. So I was like, well, would it make sense, but then also like things that have to go in there, it would make sense for them to decide, so then Grace kind of like put that in there, so then we went with the board of directors and the workers decide, and then, the members are just notified. But at first, I thought it would make more sense to, and then I eventually did.
but our initial structure, by Will and Mackenzie, were thinking that the board of directors would just be our organization's executive director, our program director, and me with no youth representation, and that they would make kind of the long-term decisions and then youth would make the short-term ones. And so we did talk about how, like, I said I wasn't comfortable with that structure, like having a separate adult only entity and a worker youth one. So
Yeah.
we had some conversations about like, would it be like 3 youth and one of them is like a junior staff, or like 3 chosen yearly based on who's working, or like how would we still haven't figured out how that structure.
Okay. Do you want to add anything to the process for your group? How was the conversation around this for you? Did you find it useful exercise? You what?
I'm aware of these decisions.
Yeah. Does anybody have feedback for this group?
Question. Do Worcester cooperatives ordinarily have a board of directors?
Good question. Yes, you would normally have a board of directors. The question is, does your board of directors have every member of the co-op on the board, or is it elected from among the members? And I can tell you typically what happens is that if you're a really small organization, usually what people do is like just everybody who's a member is on the board, and it's just an automatic thing. But once you get bigger, if you're like 100 people, then you can't have a board that's 100 people. So then you start making, you have an election where people run for the board and you elect them to the board. So it's up to you to decide how big your group has to get before you want to move to an elected body. But that's the way most people do
So
it.
that the board has legal responsibility.
Yeah, the board has really serious legal responsibilities, so you do want to make sure that you're careful about who's on the board.
Have you considered having a majority worker on the board? Then it might be more reflective of the democratic workplace, worker co-op kind of style. Think about that. It's hard to have, if you use voting, it's hard to have an even number board, so you can consider having a 7-person board.